Charges for the purchase of 10,000 and above by a regular investor is 100 rupees. The first time investor, it will be 150. Regular investor, it will be 100. GST becomes applicable with effect from July 2017. It is payable to any person making taxable supplies of goods and services whose annual turnover exceeds 20 lakhs. A mutual fund distributor who has registered and obtained a GST number would be required to raise an invoice for the commission and pay the GST to government. Okay. So until here, if you guys have any kind of a question, please let me know. Moving on, an AMC or a mutual fund company is liable to pay GST under the reverse charge on commission paid to unregistered distributors. SEBI has mandated all the AMCs to disclose total commission and expenses paid to distributors who have, let's say, multiple points of presence. अलग-अलग locations में उनका presence है, more than 20 locations. AUM, if raised over 100 crores across the industry in non-institutional category, but including HNIs. Commission received over rupees 1 crore per annum across industry. Commission received over 50 lakhs from a single mutual fund or an AMC. So in all these cases, एक म्यूचुअल फंड और एएमसी को ये डिस्क्लोज करना पड़ेगा कि कितना एक्सपेंसेस हुआ, कितना कमीशन पे किया टू डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स इन दीज सिचुएशंस. The unit holders funds in a scheme is commonly referred to as net assets. Net assets includes the amount originally invested, profits booked in the scheme, as well as the appreciation in the investments portfolio. Okay, जितना स्टार्ट में इन्वेस्ट किया था प्लस बीच में अगर कुछ विड्रॉ किया, प्रॉफिट बुक किया, एज वेल एज जो भी मार्केट के हिसाब से ग्रो हुआ है, सब कुछ मिला के आपका बनता है एंड net asset that is in your investment portfolio. The difference between NAV and repurchase price is called the exit load. ये तो start में देखा है. Dividends can be paid out of distributable reserves. So this is an option that the funds have, and we have discussed it enough that if the investors are unable to make better use of it, they can opt for a dividend reinvestment option. Investor would be incentivized to hold their units longer by reducing the load as the unit holding period increases. So investors को incentive दिया जाता है, that is exit load नहीं रहेगा अगर वो 1 साल या 2 साल या 3 साल बाद निकालते हैं, long term के लिए invested रहते हैं, so they would not have to pay any loads. SEBI has banned entry loads, so the sale price needs to be as the same as NAV. Exit load charged, if any, after the commencement of SEBI regulations shall be credited to the scheme. Exit load होता है, entry load अभी नहीं है. There is no entry load to a mutual fund. Service tax on exit load shall be paid out of the exit load proceeds, and the exit load net of service tax shall be credited to the scheme. Initial issue expenses need to be met by the AMC. Issue करने के टाइम पे अगर जो भी मार्केटिंग का खर्चा होता है या फिर जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन का एक्सपेंस होता है, all these expenses AMC को bear करना है. The client or the investor will not bear these expenses. Okay, so the initial issue expenses, distribution expenses, need to be met by the AMC itself. NAV, we saw what it is: value of stocks plus value of bonds, value of money market, dividend accrued but not received, interest accrued but not received, minus fees. All of this divided by the number of outstanding units will give you your NAV. The process of valuing each security in an investment portfolio of the scheme at its current market value is called mark to market. That is marking the securities to their market value. investment and advisory fees are charged to a scheme by the AMC and are fully disclosed in the scheme information document. So that is why these two documents are necessary to be read by an investor before investing. AMC shall not charge any investment and advisory fees on segregated portfolio. However, TER, excluding the investment and advisory fees, can be charged on a pro rata basis only upon the recovery of investments in segregated portfolio. So TER is total expense ratio. It can be charged on a pro rata basis upon the recovery of investments. Net asset value of segregated portfolio shall be declared daily. ये तो देख लिया हमने. Okay, so the account of schemes need to be maintained distinct from the accounts of the AMC. So schemes, ये जो म्यूचुअल फंड स्कीम्स के जो अकाउंट्स है, कितना इन्वेस्टमेंट है, what is the assets, what are the assets, what is the value of these assets, they should be distinct. ये अलग रहेगा और AMC का अकाउंट्स अलग रहेगा. ठीक है, they will not be combined. The AMC cannot use these assets, इसीलिए इसको अलग रखा है. The auditor for the AMC has to be different from that of the scheme auditor. ये हमने स्टार्ट में देखा था. NAV is to be calculated up to 4 decimal places in case of index funds, liquid funds, and other debt funds. NAV of equity and balance fund is to be calculated up to 2 decimal places. So in a NISM examination, there might be a calculation that pops up where you need to calculate what is the, let's say, profit of a person, what is the loss of a person, or what is the exit load, or what is the redemption price. So in those cases, please do keep in mind that whenever an NAV is calculated, you need to calculate it up to 4 decimal places. In case of an index, liquid, or a debt fund. For an equity or balance fund, up to 2 decimal places is enough. Okay, even a small change, change in these decimal place numbers will have a huge impact. Investors can hold their units even in fraction of 1 unit. Current stock exchange trading systems restrict transactions on exchange to whole units. So this is one last important thing that we'll discuss. We'll talk about the taxation part of it and also a little bit of what is known as, it is important for taxation. So short-term capital gain for an equity-oriented scheme, the holding period less than or equal to 1 year. So short-term capital gain is defined as less or equal to 1 year for an equity-oriented scheme. Whatever gains you make here are called short-term gains. Short-term capital gain for non-equity schemes, that is debt or let's say hybrid schemes with more than 65% being into debt, the definition says that it is less or equal to 3 years. That is known as short-term capital gain for non-equity schemes. Now, long-term capital gains for equity schemes is greater than 1 year. And the duration for long-term capital gain for non-equity schemes is greater than 3 years. Okay, so there is a different taxation for each one of these capital gains. So short-term tax rate for equity is 15%. Okay, that is less than or equal to 1 year. If you make any gains on that, then you will be taxed at 15%. STCG for non-equity, that is hybrid and debt funds, will be the marginal rate. LTCG rate, long-term capital gain rate for tax on equity will be 10% for any gains exceeding 1 lakh rupees. And LTCG tax rate for non-equity, that is debt and hybrid, will be 20% after indexation. So indexation is basically a tool or a calculation concept that we use to reduce our tax liability, right? So due to the inflation, we take into consideration the inflation, what is the current value, and it helps in reducing our tax liability. So that's a good thing. For NRIs, LTCG tax for non-equity listed schemes will be 20% after indexation. For unlisted schemes, it will be 10% without indexation.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.